Here I am. Here I am. Okay, so it has been a while. Nick, man, you're on the ball. Enjoy your lurking. I'm just happy to be back on the air. It's been so long. Um, so I will take a few moments to sort of tell you all what's been happening. Went on vacation. Went on vacation to Minneapolis, St. Paul, actually, and saw some family. My brother and my father both lived there, and then went on to Chicago, where took the boys to Wrigley Field for the first time. Well, for them, I've been to dozens of games at Wrigley Field. Love that place, but the boys got to see it. Now it was cold AF the whole time we were there. It was really cold. First week of April, second week of April, whenever it was, we left the ninth? No, the week before that. Nevertheless, it was really freaking cold. The boys are all like, "Oh, is it going to snow while we're in, because it's so cold in Minnesota all the time?" And I'm like, nah, probably not. Don't get your hopes up. It probably won't snow. And it snowed literally every day we were there.
Oh, wow.
In both cities. Whoa! Thank you very much. That is awesome, David. Good for you to be here again. Appreciate the resub. That's so awesome. So yeah, man. We went to Minneapolis first. It did snow every day. That was very well timed. Somebody should clip that. Actually, I'll put it on later. But anyway, I'm like, oh yeah, it snowed every day, and then all of a sudden, oh wow, okay, that was hilarious. Anyway, yeah, so it snowed every single day. And now I don't mean like accumulating snow every day, but like the night we got to Minneapolis, we actually stayed in Minneapolis the first night we were there. We stayed right next to the Mega Mall, which is what we call the Mall of America. And we stayed in a hotel right next to it. We woke up in the morning, the next morning, to like a inch, half inch of snow. It had snowed overnight, and so yeah. Again, nothing that affected driving or anything. Like no snow was on the roads or anywhere where it was going to be awful for driving. But it did snow a little bit. We had flurries and rain like every day. That was the one thing about my vacation that sucked was the weather was just really bad. So yeah, we went, and we did our thing. We did I played violin actually. I did a little mini recital at my father's retirement place. And we I didn't bring my violin with me. I decided ahead of time. My wife helped me decide, but we decided ahead of time that we're not going to bring the violin, just because we're on vacation. We don't want the violin there. We don't want either of them actually. I mean, I have a very nice violin, which is you can see right back there, and then I have this violin that I will be streaming on, and I'm going to turn this off. I don't want that on. Sorry. It's been so long. I got to remember what settings I turn on and off. So we didn't want the violin with us. We just didn't want to be thinking about it. We didn't want to have to account for where it was. We couldn't leave it in the car. We didn't feel comfortable leaving it in a hotel. We stayed in Airbnbs in both St. Paul, Minnesota, and in Chicago, right downtown. I'll talk about that in a second. But so ahead of time, I'd called a violin shop, Jennifer Becker Violins. And Jennifer Becker, I believe, she's the granddaughter of Carl Becker, who is a famous maker in his own right. His violins go for, muy dollars. And I called her up. I'm like, hey, look, I'm a professional violinist from Atlanta. Going to be in town. Don't want to bring my violin. Can you help me out? I'm kind of shopping for violins too. I am kind of shopping, you know, not always actively, but I am shopping for a new violin, a good one. So, and I told her that. That's all I said. I said, I'm a professional violinist from Atlanta. I didn't say how much money I was going to spend on a violin. So I get there, I get to her shop, and she has a bunch of violins for me to try. I think I tried 6 violins, all in all. And the second violin that I played, I really liked. It was, it had a good, strong, clear sound, but it also had some nuance to it. It had a little character, and so I played that one a lot. And then I tried a few others, and then she asks me, she's like, okay, well, what was the instrument that you played for a long time that you really liked? And I said, well, I liked this second one that I tried. She's like, oh, okay. So, and the second one I tried is by a maker. By the name of Christian Pabst, and he is I forget where he lives. He started off in Italy, but I believe he lives in I don't know, Vienna or Germany or somewhere. Anyway, that's my bad. Sorry if you're listening, Christian. Anyways, so yeah, tried that was the violin I liked the most. It was a modern violin. It was made in 2009. And I tried some others, including a Carl Becker, which I liked. But I kept coming back to this one. And at the end of the little trial thing, I spent about an hour. And she's like, okay, so we like this one the most. Let's try this violin. And she brings out, this is like a Neapolitan violin from, I believe, like the 19th century, maybe 18th century. It was a very old, Italian violin. She's like, try this one. So I tried it. I played like 3 notes on it. She said, nope, not that one. This is the one for you. I'm like, thank you. So I also tried out some bows. Bows, I did learn, can be very, very expensive. But the bows, the bow that I wound up using for my little thing was an Auchard bow, or Auchard, or I forget I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. French bow. And it was very, very nice. It did everything I wanted it to do. It's a little heavier than the bow that I use regularly, but that I still have to get out of my violin case before I can play anything. So anyway, the bow, I didn't know how much any of this stuff cost. So I filled out a thing. The violin was $18,000, and before you all are like, what? Yeah, the violin was $18,000. That's not like egregiously more than I want to spend on a violin. It's more, but I mean, when I'm looking for a violin right now, I'm looking for a $10,000 to $12,000 violin. Okay, so $18,000 is not like, oh my god, that's so much more. So the bow, this is the best part, is the bow was $16,000, which now that's way more than I would ever spend on a bow. Like when I'm going to be looking at bows and violins together, I'm looking at spending like $1,000 to maybe $2,000 on a bow. So bows are very expensive, especially good ones. So I go play the thing, and it's great. I have a good time. Everybody loves me. I'm excellent. I rock. So I get done and immediately head back to the violin shop to return everything. And now the reason that I know how much the violin and the bow I used was because I got a paper with that I had to sign or whatever that had all the information on it. So when I get back, now I'm curious to know how much the other violins were, because if one of them maybe like I tried a Chinese violin that was really nice, that Carl Becker was super nice. I didn't like that Neapolitan one so much, but there was another one that I kind of liked a little bit. And, maybe some of those are a little less. So, that was not the case. I went back and I said, okay, so how much were some of these other violins that I played? And she's like, okay, well, the Carl Becker is $110,000. I'm like, oh, okay. Now, here I am. I'm like, play cool, man. Let's not, shit our pants when she tells you how much these things are. And, so I'm all like, okay, sure, 110,000, the Neapolitan one that she said, no way, that's not a violin for you, it's $130,000, which is insane. I mean, again, it's a violin I didn't even like. So, which shows me some things. It teaches me some things about picking out a violin and buying a violin. Buying a violin does not mean you have to spend the most money. In my lifetime, okay, I have never spent or I've never bought the expensive violin. I've always gone for the less expensive option. And that's just because in every time I bought a violin, there were way more expensive violins available that I didn't like as much. When I bought my first violin, a Dario Dattili, who's really known more for bows than violins, but I bought a Dario Dattili violin for, I believe it was $6,500. This is my first good violin. I was 18, just about to graduate high school, and I took two violins home from the shop. This was the old Menning violins in Philadelphia, and I took two violins home: the Dattili, which was $6,500, and an Italian violin that I don't recall the maker of, that was $10,000. And it was night and day. I played them for multiple people. My teacher was with me at the thing, so like he already had his opinion, and so did I. But I played it for my orchestra teacher in school, played it for a couple of colleagues, a couple other students, and everyone was like, no, it's night and day, man. And it's funny because this violin is a little on the orange side, okay? It's a little yellow and a little orange. You can have violins that are more red and violins that are more yellow, and this is a more yellow one. That violin was like bright freaking orange, okay? Like orange, like Crayola orange. The thing was obnoxious. It also had a somewhat obnoxious sound. It was very, very loud. Oops, sorry. It was very loud, not terribly nuanced, but I could still play pretty on it. So what did I learn from trying violins out is that I can get a good violin for under $20,000. I could get, quote unquote, the violin. Okay, a violin that I'm like, wow, I love this instrument. My good one back there, unfortunately, I don't love that instrument anymore. It's had some surgery, and it had sound post crack. Fixed, which is a take off the top, like major, like open heart surgery for violin. And it's just not sounding, it didn't sound good before the surgery, and it's not sounding good since it. So this violin that I have here, this violin I spent like $1,400 on, just to have an outside violin. I call this my outside violin. And at times I like it better than that one up there. It's a little more responsive. But I don't mind. I have to put like the pickup that I have here goes underneath the bridge, which is a giant pain in my ass to hook up and to take off. So, quiet. So I would rather do that on this instrument. I don't want to mess with that one like that. So moving on. After my vacation, I came back and had every intention of getting right back online and playing some music. You know what I forgot to tell you about? Come on, iPad. I forgot to tell you about our stay in Chicago, which was wonderful. We had a great time, but it was cold. Game time temperature at Wrigley Field was 42 degrees with rain. With rain. And that was pretty lame. It rained lightly. It didn't rain that badly. I mean, it started to rain like late in the game. The Cubs were winning, and so we left before the ninth inning because it was cold. Everybody was cold, and I mean, I wasn't that cold. I drank a few beers, but everybody else was cold. My wife was cold. My youngest was cold. And the Cubs were winning the game. I'm like, let's just get the hell out of here. Let's get to the train before the masses. There's 30,000 people at Wrigley Field, 35,000 people at Wrigley Field. Capacity is 38 and change. So, and it wound up being opening day because of the work issue. So, okay. I've been babbling for a little while. I don't want to babble too much more. I want to play some music. And okay. Um, oh, we did see somebody almost get murdered though. So, we got the Chicago experience for sure. I think next time, I mean, the mistake was to stay in town, downtown. You know, we were right next to the Roosevelt Street Station, which is for the L in Chicago, it's a pretty major stop. A lot of the train lines converge there. So you can get on the red line, you can get on green, brown, orange, you can get on just about any blue, any of the L lines. And so it's pretty busy, and I guess this dude got jumped on the train or on the platform, and got stabbed. I shouldn't be laughing. It's just so ridiculous. Dude got stabbed. The 2-3 guys that jumped him hopped on the train and got away. They didn't get away. The police did catch them, but the dude who got stabbed like ran down the platform to run away. And then we saw him I found out about this later. We read the news article, but we found out later that yeah, man, the dude got stabbed, and he was sitting in the middle of Roosevelt Street, downtown Chicago, with a couple of cops. And that's when we walked by. This is right out front of our place. Like, our place was on Roosevelt. And like, we walked by when this dude was sitting in the middle of the road. Come to find out all of that other information. But, like, had we left the restaurant a little earlier, we might have seen the whole thing go down. So that was a little scary. And, I mean, it's... if we had it all to do over again, maybe not staying in the city. But then if we don't do that, then we have to get on a separate train and go in. We're not going to do Chicago again anytime very soon. So we'll just remember that for next time.